As we get ready to grid up, let's check in with Mark Larkham.
Thanks, mate. Matty, look, track facts for the Clipsal 500 today. Race 2 in 36 today. Laps, 78 laps. Fuel cell. Now, remember we used to have a 120-litre fuel cell? That's down to 112. And the cars are using just a little bit more fuel until they refine them a little further. That's going to give us a fuel tank range of about 39 to 40 laps. Critical lap number, earliest we can fill the car up in the race, make it all the way home, will be lap 39. Mark that down, or thereabouts, 39 or 40. Tyres, all hard tyres, so we don't have to worry about that. Pit stops. Now, in the rules, you must do pit stops, 2 pit stops. Fuel in one, or tyres. You must put a minimum tyres, or you can do both. You can't come in and do nothing. Okay, let's have a look at our strategy. Here's our fuel, full and empty. Here's our 78-lap race distance. What we saw play out yesterday, pretty well as expected. What you might do, fill your car up with fuel, run it down. Now, remembering it takes about 5 seconds to put a set of tyres on. So you really don't want to stop before you can put 5 seconds of fuel in. So what we see typically is cars run out to 10 or 15 laps, top them up, run right down to that magic lap, 39. 39 laps in from the back of the race, fill them up, and they get all the way home. Teams like to do that. They like to get their pit stops out of the way early, allows them to run home. However, what we saw yesterday, in fact, I'm convinced Craig Lowndes stuck his head around the corner and had a look at the whiteboard, because this is the way to go about this event with these new cars, and so much we don't know at the moment, is to fill your car up, run him out, get to about lap 25 and lap 52. You want to split the race into 3. Fill him up, or not fill him up, put some fuel in him, run out to about 52, more fuel, and then run home. And again, what that does, 1, 2, 3 equal splits of your tyre run, so you get the best tyre performance out of your car. Now, I've shown you a little bit about parity this weekend, being the equalisation of the cars. Let's talk about non-parity checklist. The only thing that's really big-time non-parity is the driver. He has a massive influence, and more than ever this year, because first of all, now he's got to manage economy. He doesn't have the fuel trim switch or the fuel trim adjuster on his steering wheel to lean the car off. He's now got to do that with the way he manages his throttle and the way he rolls in and out of corners. When he shifts his gears, his brakes, he doesn't have the water coolers anymore. He's got to manage his brake temperatures, his tyre degradation. They don't have that roll centre adjuster that we've seen them use so much in the pit stops to adjust the roll centre and tune the car in the race. They can't do that. That's now driver. And mechanical sympathy we've touched on. That's how he drives the car. That's how he hits the curbs. That's how he changes the gears. And the smart guys all have great mechanical sympathy. Having said all that, the big winner for me yesterday was the cars, these new V8 Supercars. Our DNF, or do not finish, or did not finish average, up to this time has been 7.3 cars per race. Yesterday, only 4 cars. So well done to all the teams, engineers in pit lane. Outstanding job.
Well, what a way to kickstart the season for our drivers. Temperature outside in excess of 30 degrees. Inside the cabin of the car, about 60 degrees. Down in the pedal well, could be up to 90 degrees Celsius. So how do they prepare? As they go around this circuit, they'll do 702 pushes in movements on the brake pedal. Now, each time that's about 80 kilograms. It equates to 50 tonnes. Effectively, they will one-legged squat over the course of this race. How do you get ready? Well, on the bike, just to get the legs, the quads, the glutes, everything warmed up and ready to go. From there, it's a process of getting the body hydrated. So you've got your hydration drinks here. This is all Mark Winterbottom stuff, by the way. He's got protein there, which he'll have after the race, and energy gels when he gets the chance before the race to keep the energy up. The boys have already been through here today. This is the ice bath. It's currently 15 degrees, keeps the body nice and chilled and refreshed, and just brings down the core temperature so they can get the maximum performance. And before the guys get in the car, when they've got the car out on the grid for as long as they can, they will keep these on. These are ice vests that have been frozen, once again, to keep that core body temperature down and help them perform at the very best they can. V8 Supercar racing now is a real science.
Especially around here, Barrett's. Thanks for that. They'll do anything they can throughout the course of this afternoon to just make that comfort level a little bit better. Remember, they've already done 250 kilometres yesterday. They're about to unleash these beasts yet again. So the stage is getting set for our second race of the season. We'll take a break, allow you to get set at home, and bring you back soon. Stay with us on 7 Sport and the V8 Supercars. Welcome back. This is Ken Block, the American. On board with him here is Will Davison, who's not afraid of too much, but I think Will's eyes were wide open when he got behind the wheel with Ken in this Ford Fiesta. Ken's a 45-year-old American. He's a multi-squillionaire, really, very highly successful businessman, and now he travels the world doing this. He has been ripping shreds off the rubber of this thing all weekend. He's crazy. So the grid is getting set. The front row of the grid, by the way, is exactly the same as yesterday. Shane van Gisbergen on pole position. Mark Winterbottom will be alongside of him. Lots of atmosphere, lots of colour, lots of people down there, Barretts.
Mate, you talk about things that make your eyes wide open. This is just incredible down here. Everywhere you look is just a wall of people. The Premier of South Australia, Jay Weatherill, is with me. Jay, this must just delight you to look around and see the success of this event.
No, it just makes you feel very proud to be a South Australian. The event gets bigger and better every year, and this year it looks like we might be heading very close to another record.
Jay, it's a real testament to the people of South Australia. It's a fantastic event, and you see people come here from all over the country.
Yeah, I mean, the state really embraces it, so everyone gets into it. But it's also great to see the number of interstate and overseas visitors that are coming to the event now.
Now, I know you love your V8, so I'll let you get out there and grab a good seat, Jay. Good to see you.
Good on you. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Premier. Thanks for having us. Now, in a few weeks' time, we head to New Zealand, to Auckland. And Murph, one of our favourite events there, the ITM 400 Auckland. What can we look forward to this year? Bit of a revamp of the track at Pukekohe.
Well, I mean, for a start, back to Puke, where it all began for the championship back in 2001 when we went there for the first time. And now we're revisiting. There's been a lot of work done at Puke. There's so much work done on the track, the safety, the pit facilities. So it's not going to look the same as what it did a few years ago. And, you know, it was a success. It was massive. Pukekohe was huge. The fans loved it. I loved it. And I can't wait for it to get back there. So I reckon that the event is just going to explode in New Zealand this time around.
And Murph, the racing is one side of it. We love that. But Auckland is such a great place to visit as well.
It is. I mean, it's not the capital of New Zealand, but, you know, it's the biggest city, and the harbour there is fantastic. It's a lot like Sydney in some ways, but it is an awesome place to go. So anyone that, you know, wants to come to New Zealand, hasn't been before, wants to come and watch the V8s back at Pukekohe, come and be a part of it. You won't be disappointed.
Murph, enjoy today. We look forward to seeing you in the Enduros as well.
Thanks, Barretts. Good on you, mate.
He certainly will be in the Enduros as part of the Holden Racing team. Murphy was the king of Pukekohe. A lot of changes to that circuit. It's going to be great to go back there. And, of course, we are heading to North America, too, in May for the Austin 400, Austin, Texas, the circuit of the Americas. So a lot of great things happening in V8 Supercars this season. None more so than what unfolded here yesterday. 28 brand new cars, 4 manufacturers for the first time ever on the grid. And at the end of the day, they couldn't catch the flying Holden Commodore VF of Craig Lowndes, who set a record in terms of winning margin. It was by 20 seconds plus. There's Jamie Whincup, defending series champ, winner of 7 races on this circuit, the most by any driver. And he was on the podium as well yesterday. He'll start on the second row of the grid. It's been a long day already for these guys. They've had a lot of commitments. 20-minute qualifying session, and about now is the time that they will start to get their real race face on. Time for our national anthem with Ian Moss.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance. Australia fair, in joyful strains, then let us sing. Advance, Australia fair.
Well done, Mossy. The FA-18 Hornet does a few barrel rolls in salute high above us on a hot and sunny Sunday afternoon. Larko?
Sorry, Matty, just want to try and grab a quick word with Fabian Kildart. Fabian, clearly you were agitated after that incident with Garth this morning, and I've got to say I spoke to him. He was equally agitated. I guess the key question, mate, is if you'd finished that lap or got to start another one, would you be even further up the grid?
Going off the data, yes, but, you know, that's all in the past now. You know, me and Garth have spoken at it. We've said what we feel, and, you know, stewards have looked into it. Nothing, you know, it was 50-50 blame, so you know, hopefully we can have a beer after the race.
Well, I reckon you're in good form, mate, because the car's fast, and that's the hard bit, so good luck.
Fabian Coulthard will start from position 5 on the grid. He started from 4th yesterday. He had a wonderful run. No question he should have been on the podium at the end of the day. But it just didn't fall that way, and he's already had, like you just said there, with Larko, a few problems in qualifying. But him and Garth Tanner have put that behind them because they've got a long afternoon of racing to get done. So 78 laps ahead of us, 250 kilometres, the second ever race in the new era of V8 Supercars. They got through yesterday without a safety car. It would be a miracle if that could happen again today. Who knows what will unfold? Well, we're going to find out soon, because we'll get rolling and get racing right after this. Stay with us.
They claim it, they want to, they really don't want to. You ain't made it a monster, so I'm over with all. Till the day that I die, I ain't stepping aside. For a corner we can't get, they're trying apart. They claim it, they want to, they really don't want to. You ain't made it a monster, so I'm over with all. Till the day that I die, I ain't stepping aside. Rattle the keys to the kingdom.
On 7 Sport right around the country, wherever you're watching right around the world, a big welcome to our international viewers for the second day of the Clipsal 500. Our 28 cars are gridded up and ready to attack this street circuit yet again here in South Australia. The 15th year of this Hall of Fame event. This will be the 29th race that we've had. The most winning driver is Jamie Whincup with 7. Holden have dominated around this circuit. So 2013 is made up of 14 events, 36 races, and this is our location.
Just a little over 3 kilometres the total lap distance. 14 corners on this track, Matty, with an average speed of about 143 kilometres an hour. Top speed about 245 kilometres an hour in Sector 2 before you get to that very fast right-hander at Turn 8 that we've spoken a lot about over the years. It's at the tough end of the scale on brakes and bumps. It's very bumpy, lots of surface variations. There are the 3 sectors that we make reference to when we're tracking lap speed of various cars. About 45% of the lap or thereabouts is 100% throttle, and that tells you something, which means there's a real premium on handling and on brakes.
Have a look in here at Mark Winterbottom's office now. Yesterday, Frosty didn't see anywhere near as much action on the track as you'd like to. Today's a whole other story.
It is, mate. That's a good thing about our championship. You have a bad day, you put it behind you, you go out and qualify today, and we're back on the front row. So I know we've got a good car. We've just got to get to the end, and if we can, who knows, time will tell.
We've got beautiful clear road ahead of you. Enjoy it, Frosty. Have a good one.
I need another start like yesterday, but 78 laps. Let's go.
Guy I've been keen to chat to, Shane Van Gisbergen here on pole position. Shane, when I spoke to you in Sydney last year, mate, the last thing I thought you'd be sitting here in a Commodore on the front row at Adelaide, mate. You must be wrapped.
Yeah, it's been a big change around, but with all the stuff that's gone on, it's been great just to get out on the track in our car. We've named Isabella, which is a good name, and it's been fun. But today, got to do all the functions and then put it in gear so I don't take off in neutral again.
Well, you certainly look more relaxed than I've ever seen you, mate.
Oh, it's just been fun to be racing. We've got a competitive car, good team, and you know, I've been placed in a good environment, so really enjoying it. Hope we can make it to the end today in the top 5. I'd be really stoked.
All right, good luck, Shane.
Yeah, that was quite extraordinary yesterday. Shane Van Gisbergen stuck from pole position. He had it in neutral, and that was the reason why they all went around him. So Craig Lowndes banked 150 championship points yesterday. Will Davison 12 points behind him. And what a great start for Alex Premer out of Fujitsu Racing. There was a lot of decisions to be made at Gary Rogers Motorsport as to whether or not he would bring the Frenchman back after season 2012. He did so, and it's paid dividends already. His second crack now. He's comfortable with the circuits, and he's got a young fighter in Scott McLaughlin next to him. It's a happy garage.
It was a great start yesterday for Mark Winterbottom. He had a 2-second margin at the end of the first lap. He said to me this morning, though, that the problem with third gear in the car started almost immediately, and he was wrenching on the lever all through that lap. He couldn't believe his luck. In fact, when he got down to the hairpin at turn 9, he thought that he may have even jumped the start, or what was going on behind. Where had they all gone? That was a blessing, but it didn't last very long, that margin.
David Reynolds had exactly the same problem, gearbox issue. We were on board with him as he was out on his warm-up lap, and you could see that gear stick. It was shuddering from left to right while he was trying to talk back to the garage to notify of the problem. He ended up starting some 6 laps into the race, so he was well and truly behind the 8 ball.
Van Gisbergen's problem yesterday, he was saying that he had the line locker activated, meaning he was holding the car with the brake activated on the steering wheel. Great shot of those cars, all 28 of them. Fuso starting grid.
What about the crowd too in the stands? So here it is, 1 and 2 go to Van Gisbergen and Winterbottom, Holden and Ford on the front row. Red Bull Racing Australia's Jamie Whincup has Will Davison, his good friend, next to him. Fabian Coulthard, what can we expect today from Fab and Alexander Premer? There's Scott McLaughlin, 19 years of age, inside the top 10. He starts alongside 3-time series champion, 5-time Bathurst winner, and the man who now has 90 race wins in his career, Craig Lowndes. Back to 11 and 12, Tony D'Alberto back in the Holden crew. There's Davey Reynolds with Garth Tander, makes up 13 and 14. Scott Pye, 23 years of age. He's a local Adelaide boy. He's got a lot of support, as you can imagine. He's got Rick Kelly next to him in the Nissan. Dean Fiore driving for Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport. Jason Bright will be alongside him. James Moffat, the Norton 360 Racing Nissan with Jonathan Webb. They had a good run yesterday, should have had a better result. Tim Blanchard from Dick Johnson Racing with David Wall, Wilson Security. There's Michael Caruso, the other Nissan. Todd Kelly, the 4th Nissan. Tim Slade as we get into E63 AMG area with Johnny Reid alongside him. And the other 2 Erebus Motorsport Mercedes of Lee Holdsworth and Mauro Engel bring up the rear of the grid. So there's your 28 cars. We'll dance around with our onboard cameras and check out how they're warming up these tyres, how they're preparing. Everything's different this time around. The view out of the windscreen's different. The windscreen itself is different. It's not glass any longer. It is polycarbonate. These cars are safer. They went through the ringer yesterday, and 24 of them popped out okay. As Mark Larkham said earlier, it's a high DNF rate here, and they managed to lower that rate, which was quite extraordinary when you think about it. But these guys pretty much have only had 3 months to piece together these brand new machines. Lee Holdsworth, blisters all over his foot. They had to use fire retardant material to tape it to the bottom of his race boot just so he could keep racing. James Moffat for the Nissan. He was inside the top 15 yesterday with Rick Kelly. Move from DJR over to what is now Nissan Motorsport, controlled by Todd and Rick. And here's Will Davison. His head was spinning yesterday when we spoke to him at the end of the day. He was absolutely exhausted. And Scott McLaughlin, this incredible story. He's been given some amazing raps this weekend by people whose opinions matter. And Russell Ingall, 49 years of age. He's got a problem there with his communications.
Yeah, he's indicating that he can't hear them, I reckon, at the moment. Maybe his earpieces have uncoupled out of the helmet. So remember yesterday, Van Gisbergen, while he's busy getting himself sorted on the steering wheel, as someone peels off into the lane there, it's Mauro Engel in the AMG Mercedes, and Shane forgot to get it in gear. He won't make the same mistake twice.
Green flag, green flag.
And the heat haze hangs over them. A massive crowd here at the Clipsal 500. Sunday is payday at the Clipsal, and a really even start this time around. Mark Winterbottom is going to have to muscle his way up to get the advantage over Van Gisbergen, and does so. So Winterbottom again goes through first, then Van Gisbergen and Whincup. Up to turn 4, and Lowndes makes contact with Alex Premer, and makes contact again. Scott McLaughlin there holding off Alex Davison and James Courtney. Inside the top 10, it's really tricky around turn 7.
James Courtney's dive, and there's more contact there. Courtney's dive on Alex Davison into turn 4 was unbelievable. They were 3 abreast and got away with it.
And Tander and Davison were also bumping out of turn 6.
Down to turn 9, Tony D'Alberto is getting a bit lively there on the approach to turn 8 as well. So some panel rubbing in the first lap, and Lowndes was right in the thick of it. Yesterday's race winner, Fabian Coulthard, already on the gas. He's got pace to burn in the Lockwood Commodore. Final turn coming up. Good start by Mark Winterbottom. There was no free kick this time around. He kept his focus. And he will take the first lap lead. So it's Winterbottom, Van Gisbergen, Whincup, Will Davison, Fabian Coulthard, Prema, Ingle, Lowndes, McLaughlin, and Courtney make up your 10.
I watched the start very carefully, looked at the lights and looked at the cars in the first couple of rows, and they all got away incredibly evenly. Very similar amounts of wheel spin. The only thing that determined it in the end was, a problem here. One of the Fujitsu cars is hemorrhaging a lot of smoke. In fact, it's had a massive failure.
That's Alex Prema.
So he's talking about fire in the cockpit of the car on the radio.
If it's doing, he just stops. Anything.
Needs to find a marshalling point quickly.
Needs to pull up.
He's in the danger zone too. This is on approach down to turn 8. It gets very narrow down here. So Alex
Well
Prema.
done. That was very well done. Very good level of consciousness there to move the car right over and got out of the way. And that's Van Gisbergen past Winterbottom. So sorry we missed that. We're looking at Alex Prema and the drama with the smoke inside that car. He was on the phone to his engineer, Manuel Sanchez, who's new to his car this year. And this is the dive. This is Van Gisbergen down the inside of Winterbottom. Great pass, very well done. Very lively first couple of laps of this race. Alex Prema and Lowndes were bumping before. There was all the drama on. This is what Bright did yesterday, an early stop. Same strategy.
That was a very determined move by Van Gisbergen. Did it with real authority down the inside, didn't lock up, made it stick, diagonal straight to the apex of 9. And now you've got Whincup applying huge pressure to the back of Winterbottom as they bring Prema's car in, and we'll try and get to the bottom of it for you as soon as we can.
Well, both FPR cars are under attack. More so for Mark Winterbottom. As you just said, Jamie Whincup's ready to have a crack at him, and Fabian Coulthard is lurking right on the tail of Will Davison.
Oh, that was very committed with Whincup then. You've just got to follow the other guy. Down the inside he goes. Good pass. See if he can get it stopped. Criss-cross maneuver now. Too much understeer. Alongside each other, we saw a big accident here a couple of years ago with Courtney and Lowndes. Very easy to make contact at the kink before this hard left-hander behind the pit. So Van Gisbergen has made great ground. He's on the fastest lap of the race as we speak.
Right, so Alex Prema's just in the garage behind us, just pulled in. Gary, power steering problem?
Between the pigeon Australian and the pigeon French, I'd say it is about that.
It's such a shame. The weekend was looking so good for him.
Yeah, well, it's not over yet. Who knows? You know, we're just going to try and fix it and get cracking. That's all you can do.
All right, Gary, all the best.
Thanks, mate.
Whincup pulled the same move that we saw Van Gisbergen pull the lap earlier down the inside, but he only just got away with his because he had big understeer in the mid-corner, and if anything, Frosty's been able to stick with him a bit here on this lap. But it's interesting that the Ford Performance Racing car hasn't been good on cold tyres and full fuel by comparison to what we saw yesterday. Hasn't been nearly as strong.
And not only that, this is on board now. It's very good. As Neil said, the start for the first 4 cars was very, very equal. That's Whincup and Davison. Just up there, you can see, a little bit of contact. We saw from the front the big slide that Whincup had, but that's the reason he and Davison made contact at turn 1. And just in behind them was this massive dive from Courtney, who arrowed up the inside of them all and got away with not making contact. In this area here on the first lap was where Lowndes and Prema were bumping.
So on the back of the fastest lap of the race, Shane Van Gisbergen extends his lead. It's about 1.5 seconds over Jamie Whincup. The fastest mover on this lap has been the local boy, Scotty Pye. Ecol Racing out of Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport. He's down in 16th. That's him just getting around David Reynolds, or getting alongside David Reynolds now. Dean Fiore in front of him, his teammate.
Dave's got something going on. I just caught the back end of a radio message there. He's losing spots at the moment, Matty, and all I heard him say is something was bent.
So Pye goes up to 15th.
Another good lap there. 22.87, fastest lap there, Van Gisbergen. So that's a good gap, 1.5 seconds to Whincup. We've seen Whincup, the hardest guy to beat in this category. He's the fastest guy in the field over the last 4 or 5 years. For Van Gisbergen to be making ground on him in similar equipment, car built by 888 Racing and Techno Motorsport running that car out of 888 Engineering.
So there's your leaderboard, 1.6 seconds.
Tell what was impressive, Matt, was the big dive from Whincup, because he had to get through turn 8 and he was so close. That's Webb down the inside of Blanchard. That's Van Gisbergen's teammate. But it was a really wild turn 8 to get down the inside, and you've got ultimate commitment to be able to get a pass made like that, Cropper.
Quite a few of them are having trauma at turn 8. I believe the problem for Reynolds was rubbing the wall down there. That's why the left-hand mirror looks a bit second-hand on that Botlow car. And car number 14, Fabian Coulthard, is coming into the pit lane. He's also whacked the wall at turn 8, so he's peeled off. Here he is. So have they got any damage, or is this just strategic?
Well, the telltale signs will be on this side if there is damage.
Yeah, there is.
It's damage, yeah.
So you can see that immediate impact is they can't get the rattle gun on there, Larko.
Yeah, that's right. If you look at the nut close, you can see it's quite damaged. It's burned the nut over. But this is a really good test for these cars. You can see the evidence where it's hit the wall. Now, typically on our old cars, and by the way, I saw that rim was wobble, wobble, wobble as it came down the pit lane. That would usually punch the watch linkage over, break the bolt. But often the cars would keep going. So it's going to be a really interesting little test, because now we've got independent suspension sitting in around here. Much finer, more racing-like componentry. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, so the safety lock on that has broken. Looks like it's pretty severely bent, that left rear. Here's the replay. Oh, that's Courtney actually rubbing up on it. So here's another one you can add to the list. There might be something on the road down there, which is, there we go. So there's David's. That was the reason why Davey was on the phone as well. So I described that a little earlier. There's another angle of it. That's a pretty fair whack.
That'll be the oil from Prema when he trickled around the outside, and that's hit hard. That's Coulthard hit hard.
Yeah, so there's 3 of them that have fallen victim to that. And it looks like this car has been the car that's been affected to the highest degree.
So turn 8 was pretty kind to them yesterday. Nobody really found any trouble down there, but like you say, when there's oil on approach, there's not much you can do. So Fabian Coulthard, Davey Reynolds and James Courtney all biting hard down into the concrete, and had to happen sooner or later. It's amazing that it took us a race in a bit before turn 8 bit. Shane Van Gisbergen, almost a 2-second lead at the front. Welcome back. Craig Lowndes is on the charge. He started 8th. He's moved up to 5th. He's rounded up Russell Ingall and gone past, and David Reynolds, the Botlow Ford, is heading to the garage. Exactly the same issue as Fabian Coulthard's car had, from exactly the same hit at exactly the same part of the circuit. They couldn't get the left wheel off properly, so they're going to have to get back in there and fix it up.
And it's funny, when you look at the damage, Matt, it's actually not that much, but Frank Adamson, this guy here, he's responsible for letting the cars go safely. And until that safety clip's working, they won't let them go. Let me quickly show you. So here's a typical wheel, and the nut, well, that's very hot, is actually captured in the wheel, right? So it's got those little clevises there that hold it. It can't come out. On the gun, if you look on the gun, there's that little prodder in the front there, and when you engage it on there, it pushes the safety lock in, and that allows the nut to come undone, and that's a mechanism so a wheel nut can never come off out there in the race. Problem is, when they whack the wall, they burr all that over, that little dick there can't fit inside there, can't get the wheel off, so those cars won't be going out until the safety lock works.
Well, look at Shane Van Gisbergen. Everything's working for him right now. At this stage of the race yesterday, he was trying to play catch-up. Today, it's just a clear run. That's lap traffic in front of him. Van Gisbergen has a 2-second lead. Oh, you always hold your breath when you see them coming in here at turn 8. So this was the move that Craig Lowndes put on Russell Ingall down at turn 9. Very similar to the one that Jamie Whincup did on Mark Winterbottom, and almost got doubled over on the crossover, but Lowndes up to 5th.
Rick Kelly's having a good run too. He's in 12th position in the Nissan. Not too far from that top 10. This is a good opening count for Van Gisbergen. He's out to just under 2 seconds now over Jamie Whincup. A strike against the name of Mark Winterbottom over the curbing last time through. Then Will Davison, Craig Lowndes, Russell Ingall, you just detailed, Courtney, McLaughlin, Tander, and then Alex Davison in the Geldwen entry.
So Prema back on track, but with no power steers. That'll be a very long afternoon for him.
Here's Tim Slade, the Erebus Motorsport Mercedes. He's got Michael Caruso behind him. So you're looking down at positions 19 and 20.
With no power steering and the amount of what we describe as negative camber and caster on these cars, just in other words, the geometry of the front suspension, the steering weight incredibly heavy. I reckon you would struggle to get to the end of the race. I can't imagine in these temperatures that he'll blaze on.
It's back in there again, so for sure. So Lowndes fastest first sector. Van Gisbergen has made great ground, 2.5 seconds now to Whincup.
It's a good mix having these two out in the circuit so close together, because the Mercs, as you can hear, have a real grunt about them this year, and the Kellys like to have a bit of extra noise emanating from their cars, which is effectively what Michael Caruso's Norton Nissan is. It's out of the Kelly stable under Nissan Motorsport. Well, listen to them go.
There was nothing in that in a straight line. Both cars all the way up that straight up to turn 8. It's a very similar performance.
Tim Slade, another local South Australian. That didn't sound too handy, did it? So Craig Lowndes, by the way, has done the fastest time to the second sector. He's done a pretty good lap, a low 1:22. He remains in 5th as Garth Tander enters pit lane. And it's a regulation stop.
Scott Pye's in as well. Ecol and Hog's Breath support for those guys this year from Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport. 2 competitive cars that have been built by 888 Race Engineering. Tander's job done. A fair bit of scuff damage on the front left-hand corner of Tander's car. He would do that just down here at turn 1. When he turns in, there's a tyre bundle on the inside. Just grabbing the belt there has given it a rub.
Another baby in the Tander household. This the other week. Sebastian was born just the other week, so now father of 2, GT and Leanne. We've got Sebastian and little Scarlett, the same 2 for Mark Winterbottom.
The little bit of ag that we saw in qualifying between Tander and Coulthard went on after the fact, because they brought Fabian in and he had to go via the qualifying scales. As he left the scales to head back down to the Brad Jones Racing garage, he was a little bit too close for comfort, in Garth's opinion, and Garth was standing out there to give him a short, sharp interview as he went past. So Garth removed the driver's side mirror off the door.
As he knocked it off?
Yeah, meaning as in he knocked it off. So I think they called it square in the end, but Fabian might have been a bit close, and Garth wasn't that happy, so they managed to keep that one alive. A little bit of ag went on for a while.
2 lanes clear. When the car drops, you're right to go.
That's dry ice going into the driver's cool suit system for Scotty McLaughlin.
Watch for Tander on exit, mate.
So high above this Adelaide Parkland circuit, you can take a look at our Coates Hire leaderboard. Shows Shane Van Gisbergen in the early stages of this race in complete control, almost a 3-second lead over Jamie Whincup. There's a long afternoon ahead of us. Back here at the Clipsal 500, another body blow for the Holden Racing team. Garth Tander, who we saw make what we thought was a regulation stop, has gone back in the ad brake. The front left tyre has had to be replaced, front left wheel rather has been replaced, because the tyre has come off the rim. Now, maybe this might explain why or where some of this happened. Yeah, he gets tangled up on approach to turn 7 there with Scott McLaughlin. And that front left would have rubbed against, yep, there you go. So by the time he gets in, you can see the rim sticking out there already. Also in the brake, Craig Lowndes. has been serviced in pit lane. No dramas, and here is Will Davison. We've had 10, now 11 and 12 cars out of the 28 who have so far taken their pit stops.
Yeah, so the trend we're seeing here today is that a few more people are taking the opportunity to come in a little earlier.
Go.
Hey, have a look at this. You reckon these tyres aren't working here? Just follow me in here. Have a quick look at Will Davo's rear left tyre. I don't know if I can bring the numbers around there so you can see them. Look at that, 114 degrees centigrade. That is stinking hot.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? 122.3 is the new fastest lap time set by Scott Pye.
So yesterday, for example, if you were with us in our coverage of the front runners, really there was probably only Jamie Whincup and Jonathan Webb that came in. There's that tyre that got plucked off the front left-hand corner of Garth Tander's car. No further action, incidentally, as a result of the contact between McLaughlin and Tander. That was the rim and the tyre that we're just looking at there inside the HRT bunker. But really only a couple of the front runners yesterday sort of coming into the corresponding period. But today, far more people are playing the game. Here's Whincup now.
Let's need to clutch and brake for me, please, mate. Nice and steady. Perfect. Freeze are done. Just waiting on fuel. You'll be good to go into drop out, all clear. See you.
Make it look easy.
Cold tyres, 4 cold tyres. There's a bunch of cars on exit. 4 cold tyres. Watch for cars on merge.
And they make it sound easy as well. We'll just watch this rejoin because there was some pretty heavy traffic coming along.
It's 20 plus kilos to pick up a wheel and tyre combination, and the minimum weight of the rattle guns is essentially 4 kilos, and they do it so fluently. Michael Caruso, the Norton Nissan. I think he's got a cool, I heard him say cool suit fail in the background there. This is not the place for that. So the way in which the biomechanics worked of grabbing the wheel, releasing it with the rattle gun, picking up the incoming wheel, getting it on the hub, torquing it back up to the required tension, getting your hand raised. The fact that that all happens in 3 odd seconds, I continue to feel is a minor miracle, because whenever I've had a go at it, you need to time it with a calendar.
Hey Neil, one thing I love to do is compare tyres on the pit lane. These are Jamie Whincup's tyres that just come off. That's his left rear there, just come off, and you can see there, even, look, 112, 114. So identical temperature, but when we talk about the camber of the tyre, if you look at my temperature gauge, you'll see that on the inside of the tyre, you'll generally get hotter temperatures than out here on the outside of the tyre. Look at that, that's a front tyre, because remember the camber of the wheel means that the tyre is running on its inside edge. But the art in this game is getting equal temperature across the tyre in the middle of a corner. A lot easier said than done.
As Will Davison, Mark Winterbottom comes back out of pit lane. There's Johnny Reid and the Wilson security back, Dick Johnson Racing Falcon. So Van Gisbergen's lead is 12.9 seconds over James Courtney. The field will need to be corrected before those figures are accurate in terms of splits. This is the on-track order. Lap 18 into 78. After 78 yesterday, safety car free. 78 last year on the Sunday, safety car free. This is one hell of a roll where we haven't activated the poor old safety car yet.
I would have bet and lost the house yesterday on the fact that there absolutely is going to be a safety car. There absolutely wasn't. So Rick Kelly in, Jack Daniels, Nissan Motorsport. His brother Todd's howling about oversteer at the moment. They're right at the lane entry.
Done a really good job, Neil. Rick was up in the 5th position when he just come in, so from 16th on the grid, that's a very good first stint. James Courtney there servicing.
Who also rubbed the wall, remember, so he got away with it. A couple of the others didn't. Ooh, that was awkward for D'Alberto, having to get around Courtney, who bobbled on departure. He's behind Rick there.
And I guess there are pluses and minuses about which end of pit lane you're at. As you mentioned, the Kelly boys are right down at the entry, effectively, of pit lane. Would you rather have more time to get yourself sorted on the way out or more time getting yourself sorted on the way in?
Matt Morrow Engel is just out of the Mercedes-Benz, being fueled up at the moment. He'll be just getting underway out of pit lane now. Ross Stone, an ECU problem for Morrow?
Yeah, it looks like ECU has got some sort of glitch in it. It sort of lost some of the memory, if you like, from what was needed to the throttle. So V8 Supercars have given us a new one. We programmed it and away it goes.
Been a tough weekend for Morrow. He's a great young guy and a brilliant driver and just had a tough run.
Yeah, it's always going to be a tough gig this weekend for us. This is one of the hardest races of the year. And, you know, I'm just really pleased, you know, getting here. And we got 3 cars across the line yesterday, and we've got to do the same again. But as I said to the guys this morning, that, you know, phase 1 is done. We've got to get on with them and develop them now. So we're looking forward to that.
It's going to be a great year. Good luck, Ross.
Yeah, cheers.
When Ross makes reference to an ECU, he's talking about an engine control unit. It's a control unit in the entire field this year, provided by Motec from their operation at Bayswater in Melbourne. And that particular car, the Benz, has got a fly-by-wire throttle, much like some of the modern aircraft have that Mark Larkin was talking about before. So they've had a glitch and a failure there. They've had to put another one in, get it going again. So there's no physical connection between the throttle pedal and the throttle actuation in the car. It's done electronically. Jason Bright, remember, they brought him in quite early. Lap 2, stuck some fuel in it. So he's gravitating into the top 10 here. He is 6th at the moment, well out of step with everybody else's rhythm. Brad Jones said that that may have been an option for them today, depending on how the start went. This is the race leader.
4 tyres, 16 seconds worth of fuel. Pull even drop, top up your drink bottle.
This is going to be close. Whincup may jump in.
Just a reminder to hold the brake, use your blocking gear.
So the gap was 38 seconds between Van Gisbergen and Whincup. He's getting 16 seconds worth of fuel, with 20-odd seconds worth of transit time. 23, he's going to be right on the mark here.
You're on board, it's happening. He's going to go by.
And remember, they brought Jamie in on lap 16. So that's worked well for them.
Pretty much to the second, about a second difference. So that gives Jamie Whincup a net gain, puts him in the effective race lead. He's 3rd on the timing list because Jono Webb and James Moffat are yet to complete their pit lane service. But a good, solid first up segment of this race for the pole sitter Shane Van Gisbergen, as Scott McLaughlin threads the needle. The sole Fujitsu GRM car out there at the moment. Alex Premer still in the garage. And Scotty McLaughlin is in 11th spot. So Jono Webb and Moffat lead the way. Yet to pit, Jamie Whincup and Shane Van Gisbergen will resume a pretty healthy fight once the field is cleansed. We'll take a break from Clipsal, bring you straight back on 7 Sport. Watching the V8 Supercar Championship on 7, our second race of 2013. Mark Winterbottom, even in pit lane, he can just capture these cars at their absolute maximum. Shane Van Gisbergen is 2nd on the road, but he's lighting up the timesheet. So the field is this now. It's been cleansed mostly. Only Lee Holdsworth and Johnny Reid yet to pit. We're looking at Jason Bright and Craig Lowndes. They are positions 3 and 4. Whincup leads the race from Van Gisbergen. Behind Lowndes in 5th is Mark Winterbottom, then Will Davison.
Craig's been talking about the fact that he feels though he's getting a hiding in a straight line relative to Bright. He looks pretty strong there at the moment. A little bit of that's corner exit speed by the look of it as well. But remember, there's also a disparity in the fuel loads between these cars because Bright came in very early. So he's getting towards the back end of his stint. Lowndes came in on lap 13. Jason Bright came in on lap 2.
And Van Gisbergen, fastest lap of the race on the last lap there, 22.2. He's 2.7 seconds adrift of Whincup. So this race looking very cleansed now in terms of the front end of the field with Whincup, Van Gisbergen, Bright, Lowndes, Winterbottom, Davison, Holdsworth, who hasn't stopped, McLaughlin, Engel and Pye. Engel still no radio communication to the pit.
they bring Michael Caruso in this car, which has got a problem with the cool suit system. They're going to pluck the left window out of it. They're also going to stick some ice down his back. That'll help for about a lap.
Yeah. Until the ice heats up, you mean?
Yeah.
What does it become then?
A kettle.
Water.
The problem is what it becomes.
I hope they don't put dry ice down his back.
Hang out as long as you can. You're over 20 laps to this stint. If you can't make that, we'll have to stop you early.
Problem for Coulthard. So coasting and back into the pit lane.
Oh.
Wow.
It was a nice pass.
Actually, good presence to be able to see all that happening, and he pulled over and let
It was
Lee Holdsworth sneak on by.
Well, for both guys, wasn't it? It was actually a really good bit of driving.
Van Gisbergen's gone on with it again in terms of fastest laps. He's lowered the time now to 1:22.03 and also chopped into the gap between him and Whincup. So this is Lee Holdsworth's first stop.
Wheels are going on now, mate. Still waiting on
So Fabian's car went into the garage in the background.
And again, they're getting that air gun just into the footwell there to
go when they drop, mate. Time to go.
just try and cool off that pedal and the boot.
Still waiting on fuel. Fuel's out, guys. Let's go. Go. All clear, mate. All clear. We've got Mara coming down the main straight.
He's all taped up and his feet will be stinging. Watch this.
Well, that's I mean, technically speaking, that'd be a blend line infringement for Lee Holdsworth, but given the fact that he's rounding up a slow car, they might go a bit easy on him at race control. Not sure that there's much he could do in reality.
Well, it would have been much more dangerous to abort and spear out onto the circuit proper, wouldn't it?
Well, that's right, and just in the rear of that shot must have been Scott McLaughlin, because he only just got around as Fabian turned in there, and then so did Holdsworth. So the three cars in very close proximity.
Now, Bright's actually moved away slightly from Lowndes here since we last looked, which was a lap or so back. So Jason Bright is second, Lowndes fourth, Winterbottom fifth. Whincup's the leader with a 2-second margin at the moment. Bright's out of step strategically, but still running very quickly lap speed-wise at the moment. So had he qualified better, he'd be in the hunt.
Guys, Fabian Coulthard is in the garage again with the ongoing problems for that knock with the wall earlier on. Now his rear brakes are leaking fluid.
Thanks, Brett. It seems like there's a hydraulic issue with that car, because I asked them this morning and they couldn't find where the leak was coming from the front caliper yesterday. If you recall, there was a brake problem yesterday, and now to have a similar brake problem in the race today is quite strange.
Yeah, it was the front right-hand corner front brake caliper yesterday. They think it was a bleed nipple on the caliper, but they replaced it. AP Racing, the brake supplier, have got a representative here from the UK. He was happy to sign off and leave it, but they decided to change it anyway, as James Courtney ends up wide down at turn 9, and now they've got something going on at the rear, so there's a bit of weirdness happening there for sure. Now, James Courtney, not so long ago, off camera, did have some contact with Jonathan Webb as well, I believe. Big lock up here for Courtney as he tries to sneak down the inside of Rick Kelly.
Very good awareness from Rick Kelly then. He didn't turn in. Courtney was out of control. He had the wheels locked. He was going to run on, and Rick could have turned in and let Courtney by effectively, turned back the other way, and very good awareness. As I said, you've got to know what's going on around you, and that was a great bit of driving.
Mario Engel, mate, my sympathy to you. I mean, what you really needed this weekend was miles. You know that. You're being very patient, mate, I've got to say, because it's a very, very hard gremlin to fix.
Yeah, look, it's obviously not what we want. We don't want to be sitting in the box while everyone else is racing. But, you know, these guys have worked so hard to get these cars on track, and, you know, the whole program just came together within 3 months. So I think, you know, you've got to pay respect to that, and there was always going to be some problems. Well, it seems like I'm the guy who have them this weekend in this garage anyway.
I love your attitude, mate. Just gauging your comments yesterday, you are really enjoying this category, though, aren't you?
Absolutely. It's fantastic to be here, and look, I just want to get back out and race, but you know, we'll get on top of it. We'll come back, and I'm sure we'll progress bit by bit. So I've got every faith in my team.
Good on you, mate. We'll be watching with interest.
Alaka, while you were talking to Maro, there was an unbelievable moment with Lowndes and Winterbottom. Winterbottom had a big run through turn 8. He almost got the wall. It's getting very lively between Lowndes and Winterbottom now. It looks like Lowndes actually for pace today is not as well off, and he has a dive. There'll be contact here. Oh, Lowndes gives him room. Well done, but he's on the inside for the next corner, so this is not over. He's got to hold that line. Winterbottom up the inside again. Turns it in, he's got him, because the next right-hander will suit Mark Winterbottom. So that was a very lively exchange with those two guys.
And it was patience by both of them. Lowndes knew it was coming, so he waited and waited. He defended as much as he could. Frosty knew he was going to get him, but he didn't bother taking the lunge first up. He let it breathe for a couple of turns and then got the move done.
Your observation of his car, Craig Lowndes' car, as Michael Caruso gets attention to that cool suit and his driving suit with a bit of ice there shoving down there at the moment. I reckon your observation's right on the money there. Lowndes' car just doesn't look racy. When you see him sidestep into turn 4 like that, he knew he was a shot duck. He didn't even bother to argue, so it only took a couple of corners for that deal to be closed and for Winterbottom to be able to get by. If Craig felt that he had something to fight with underneath him, he'd hang on by the fingernails there.
Really good bit of driving. That's the most aggressive I've seen Winterbottom for a while. That move through turn 8, he was absolutely sideways at one of the fastest and most dangerous corners. And now Davison is coming up to do the same thing. This is the pass we were talking about, and Neil correctly said that he could have turned in, he gave him room, he knew he was over. And this was sort of a long-winded pass by Mark Winterbottom, but he ended up at this point having to yield. Lowndes gone.
They got down towards turn 7. There's Craig skating over the back of the curb, and he's effectively surrendered, but he's now under big pressure from behind by Will Davison as they continue to attend to Michael Caruso and the problem he's got with the cool suit in there. They're trying to shove some ice in there, but that's going to be a short-term solution to the problem for those guys.
Well, they've got his health at the top of the list. They had a good chat to him about it. If you can't handle it, we'll just bring you in. Jamie Whincup leads this race. 30 laps done in this 78-lap race. Jamie Whincup is being hounded at the front by Shane Van Gisbergen, who is closing the gap. Now, you'll remember when Michael Caruso came in when we left you on the break, they ripped out the left-hand rear window there just to try and make sure that he's got airflow. The medical team have also been on this, and the team have assured them that they're not going to push it. In fact, they haven't. So this is a cool suit fail that could really endanger the health of any driver. This has got nothing to do with the car itself, but effectively Michael Caruso is a fit young man, just couldn't go any further, and it's much better to bring him in, take him out of the car and make sure that he gets the attention that he needs instead of trying to push on. And talking about pushing on, here is Mark Winterbottom getting past Jason Bright. And just further to that, you'll hear us talk about cool suits. The problem is, Scafey, when they go off, when they're not working, they do the exact opposite, don't they?
Oh, they're like an electric blanket. And the water flow through the capillaries that are inside the vest keeps you cool. If it works nicely, it's a really nice thing to have. But when they're not working, there is nothing worse. And that's obviously the effect that it has on Michael Caruso. And it's debilitating. It's effectively that level of dehydration has smashed him today, and that's something that you've just got to be able to deal with. And for that, at that point, they've done the right thing. The team and the medical crew have done the right thing and pulled him out of the car.
Now the gap's also narrowed between Whincup and Van Gisbergen just in the recent past too. It's 3/4 of a second, folks, so just keep a bit of a weather eye on that one. And you can see that Winterbottom's got a bit racy there in the last lap or two as well, and he's been able to clear Jason Bright, who's near the end of the tyre life on this cycle of tyres. And here's that margin first to second that I just made reference to. So the string between those two has got shorter.
Now, Whincup came in on lap 16 and Van Gisbergen on lap 20. So 4 laps difference there should play into Shane Van Gisbergen's hands the longer this goes on. And that's what's unfolding. Look at that. Green boxes over the course of the last 4 laps. And like you said, it's down to 3/4 of a second. It was drifting out towards 3 seconds at one stage. And this is what we missed out on really yesterday with Shane Van Gisbergen and, to an extent, Jamie Whincup in the middle of the race. We didn't get to see their true pace. They had different problems at different times. And now we're seeing them with no dramas, going flat chat at the front of the field, waiting, trying to drop Mark Winterbottom, who's 13 seconds back from the lead, but he's coming. riding on board here with Will Davison, the Pepsi Max crew FPR Ford. Your telemetry will take you through as he comes around the turn 10, 11, 12 complex. The pit lane on his right-hand side, the family fun park on the left-hand side. Now let's just sit with Will here as he takes aim up the main straight. That was also a good illustration of what was going on ahead of Will with Craig Lowndes and Jason Bright. Brighty having a few problems around that lap. Will also, and isn't it extraordinary that short punch from turns 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, and then you just let it breathe and let it hang all the way down to turn 8.
You can see over my shoulder here, Timmy Slade's just wheeled into the pit lane here, back into the garage. Similar sort of issues to what we've seen with the Murrow Engel car. So clearly, I think now, I wouldn't say it's an ECU. I don't know, my guess, knowing on the other car that they've changed throttle bodies, they've changed sensors, they've changed loom components, they've changed the ECU. There's something in there that's obviously, I think, probably some beautiful German engineering in there somewhere that's maybe needs a climatic adjustment for this tough event and the tough environment that a V8 Supercar puts up with around here.
Some good news, the medical team has cleared Michael Caruso at the moment. He's just back in the transporter. He's just being rehydrated and basically resting up. But the good news is he is fine. The car also had a problem. He couldn't get fourth gear, so they thought between Michael being exhausted at this point of the race and the car playing up with the gearbox, just rest it, save it for another day.
Meantime, Lowndes has cleared Jason Bright, but what was really evident from the car behind when we were riding with Will Davison on that lap, both those cars preceding him oversteering a lot. In fact, Jason Bright's hung out wide here at the moment. He's vulnerable to a manoeuvre here from Will Davison, but his car was sliding big time near the end of its tyre life. He's got the inside running here for one. That'll hold for him for a little bit longer, but he's basically going to be drawn and quartered here at some stage. But Lowndes' car was also sliding a lot. I reckon he's got more oversteer generally today than he had yesterday. So whatever they did, maybe they haven't quite got a handle on it. Remember, the temperatures are up a little bit more today than they were yesterday. When I talk about oversteer, it's the back of the car that's sliding, and it's particularly evident in these second gear corners, so they're having to be very careful with the throttle as they apply near enough to 650 horsepower to be very gentle with the application and not burst the car into wheel spin, big opposite lock slides. Superheats the tyre, makes you slow.
Good run there. Someone's having some drama up in front.
9, yep, for sure. Ahead of Craig Lowndes.
Oh, that's Winterbottom. Winterbottom has had a big moment at the hairpin. You can hear that tyre squealing.
It'd be hard to imagine it not having a flat spot after so much squawking in the background.
Very good job there, Craig Lowndes, because that can be very distracting when you see that up ahead. It's easy to make the same mistake. And a very good pass there with Will Davison. I see the amount of drama that he had there. Bright just can't get it turned at the final corner, can he?
And they'll have to put a lot of fuel in Bright's car when he comes back in, because they brought him in early. And a hop against Mark Winterbottom's name there. So because he was being threatened by Lowndes, he chose to basically take the fastest possible line through the chicane, across the curbing, because he's vulnerable to Lowndes at the end of Wakefield Street on the approach to turn 4 on the bumps there.
He's got 2 now also, so you only get to 3, then you get the bad sportsmanship flag. If you have one more hop, a pit lane penalty.
And he'll be a bit frustrated by that because a bit early in the day to start seeing numbers that are right up there. There, his Winterbottom running wide at turn 9 after the big lockup that you heard in the background. So there are a couple of very good little battles starting to brew up nicely here. Lowndes on the attack, looking for the diagonal run down the inside under brakes. He's on the maximum brake pressure performance of that car, but he didn't get clean enough down the inside. Frosty's a wake-up, so big arm wrestle here. And remember, in the 2012 season, all the races were fought and won between 2 teams. 888 Race Engineering, who this year are Red Bull, Ford Performance Racing, who this year are Pepsi Mac. So it's extraordinary to consider that we've still got a battle going on with these guys. But the joker in the pack, it seems so far for this year, is Shane Van Gisbergen. He's second. He's in a 888 built car, but with VIP support in the Techno Autosports car, and he's still coasting along nicely in second. That gap, by the way, as you've probably seen on the ticker, it's just opened up ever so slightly. It's just a little over 2 seconds between Whincup and Van Gisbergen again now. It got down to 0.7 only a few laps ago, so Jamie's eased her away.
FPR and 888 have cleaned up the last 34 straight races. Somebody's got to break their stranglehold.
Well, definitely in the new regime with the new car, there are a lot of other drivers in contention. We saw Coulthard yesterday and today. We've seen Van Gisbergen clearly there. We saw both the GRM cars very strong. And down the inside, close. Oh, not quite enough. That's 2 laps in a row for the same sort of manoeuvre. We're definitely seeing some of the smaller teams with good equipment operating very well at the start of the year, which bodes well for a good season of racing.
Pretty sure Lowndes knew that he couldn't get that job done down there at turn 9, but just thought he'd telegraph the move anyway to Mark Winterbottom. The race is on at the front between Whincup and Van Gisbergen. Welcome back on our Mega Wall pit lane, checking in at Walkinshaw Racing, Super Cheap Auto. A wall cam keeping you posted down there at turn 8. We're on board so many cars. Race control still yet to be called into action in terms of safety cars. And while we're in the break on track, you'll see that Jason Bright is back out there, but he has done that pit stop. Remember, they played the early card with the Team BOC car. He was in on lap 2. So now he has circulated and popped back in on the track in 18th.
He had to take a lot of fuel on because he came in on lap 2. Stick a lot in, ran pretty much to the end of that stint, so played a good strategic game there. And here's Tony D'Alberto in as well, and we were looking at Bryce Seals in the bunker at Super Cheap Auto Racing right in the centre of that shot in the Mega Wall, and they're also bringing Russell Ingall in, who's well inside the 10. He's 7th at the moment behind Scotty McLaughlin, so it's been a good run. That whack with the wall hurt him yesterday, and then they had, remember, they got stuck with a tyre on there on the right rear for a double stint. They broke a front anti-roll bar after the wall contact, so today it's rolling along a lot better for him. Here's David Wall as well, 3rd of the Brad Jones Racing cars, Wilson security entry. So Whincup's got a 1.6-second lead, I should say, but the interesting thing is that Van Gisbergen and the boys at VIP have actually got a little strategic advantage here based on where both those teams stop. So the pressure will be on here for car number 97 when that crew and that car comes in as Whincup peels in for his stop. Because these guys are trying to second guess that now, get onto new rubber and arrest that problem.
You're
not done.
Freeze are done now, sorry. Still enough in the pit lane. You'll be good to go once we drop you. Still enough in the pit lane, mate.
So Jamie came in 4 laps earlier, which means he's got about 4 or 5 seconds more fuel to put in than Van Gisbergen. This is Russell Ingall. That's critical. So it's 1.6 seconds between Whincup and Van Gisbergen. So at the moment, strategically, the odds are in favour of the young Kiwi. The pressure will be on when they take their second stop at Techno to see how those guys perform and whether or not this little jump onto fresh tyres for Whincup gives them a yield. That's what we'll be watching for.
and they will have to do a perfect pit stop, because that's what that one was from Red Bull Racing.
And they've got the advantage, but they've got to get into the lane cleanly, get all 4 wheels and tyres done. And here's the moment of truth. Get the fuel in. He's got to pull up on the mark. He's got to execute this with Swiss watch precision. And that's something that Triple Eight, that Red Bull Racing have been very good at over a long period of time. They've got the advantage. Can they capitalise?
Top of your drink bottle. Got about 4, 3, 2, pit lane, all clear, all clear.
Look pretty good. They've got a margin. It looks like to me they're going to hold on here. So here we are into the final corner, turn 14 for Whincup. Meantime, Shane Van Gisbergen has got the pit lane speed limiter flicked off, and away he goes, and they hold that cushion. So they didn't fumble the ball under pressure. Great work, Techno Autosports and Team VIP. And they've held sway over the champion team.
And the first thing that you said that they had to get right was the most critical. He had to land it right on the spot in the box. When he did that, everything else fell into place beautifully. They had enough time to not panic putting on the new tyres, because there's plenty of fuel going in. So that's a critical moment for Shane Van Gisbergen, and it will play out at the end of this race.
And now it's a 35-lap sprint, Matt. With, you can see Whincup basically in all that 4, 5, 6, 7 area, about 100 metres between the corners, and Whincup can see him. So Whincup is going to hunt him down, and let's see what happens to the young Kiwi. This will be fantastic.
You are riding with the defending Clipsal 500 event champion Will Davison, won on the Sunday last year. Down here at FPR, there were problems in the pit stop. Wheel nut again. Yes, is the answer.
So this is car 5, and we were on board with Will there a moment ago. So they've had some trauma. What a drama.
And Alex Davison has come in as well.
Still got drama on that one too. Both those wheels have had a similar issue.
So that's cars 5 and 6. Wow, that's a shame, isn't it? Given all the hard work they've done in the course of the afternoon. Massive amount of time burnt.
So finally, Winterbottom heads back out. This is going to cost him dearly, and can you believe it?
Same
Alex
thing.
Davison, exactly the same thing.
And stalls. Rick Kelly. Here's a moment. This is a special moment. Rick Kelly in the Jack Daniels Nissan Motorsport entry is the leader of the motor race. It's only going to be momentary because Shane Van Gisbergen's right behind him, but that's a pristine moment for the boys at Nissan after all the hard work. It started in February 2012, and the timeline for the project is extraordinary. Rick went to New York in April for the world launch of the Ultima, and they've been scrambling building these cars, and it's going to be short-lived glory, but that's a pretty impressive moment for the boys down at Kelly Racing, Jack Daniels and Nissan, to say that they can proudly hold the flag up for a moment, so we led the race. They're out of sequence.
I'll let him go. I kept him the leader.
Yeah, he's the leader, Rick. But they were just a tiny bit outside the top 10 at the end of it all yesterday, with Rick in 11th. Michael Caruso was the best qualifier yesterday in 13th. Here's James Moffat down the inside. That was the reason we saw Johnny Reid limping back in the break. He's got a broken right rear suspension. Ian Wally Walburn was on the phone. Thought it might have been a puncture, but it's way more sinister than that. It's broken a wishbone or a toe link, and it's back in the pit lane. So big moment there for the Nissan fans.
And you know what? We've passed another milestone. When we got past lap 44 here with no safety car yesterday and no safety car on the Sunday last year, we've done more than 200 consecutive laps of the Clipsal 500 without safety car intervention. Doubt that will ever happen again. Welcome back Shane Van Gisbergen leads this race by 6.2 seconds. He's on track to claim his first victory here at Clipsal, and it's officially Sellout Sunday, the biggest ever Sunday crowd in the 15-year history of this event. 95,000 people today alone means that we have our second biggest ever total crowd of 286,500 people. So the sold-out signs didn't go up today. We would have broken the all-time attendance record, which was set back in 2008 of 291. Extraordinary figures of this hugely popular event. Marco?
Yeah, a lot of dejected faces down here at FPR, and I think they're a little bit perplexed. One guy I want to just grab. Hey, Matty. Sorry to bother you, mate. I just noticed you're probably the guy that spoke to more than anyone about the issues just there. Matty Nielsen, the technical director here. What do you make of that wheel issue, mate?
Oh, look, we'll go back through it at work, but obviously hot wheels, first time with this spec wheel. Who knows, we're just going to go through it and try and nut it all out, but obviously had it happen on 3 cars, so hopefully we can find something.
All right, mate, so it sounds like you don't have the answers as the answer.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that's pretty much the bottom line, Marco. I'd love to help you, but I can't. So here's Scott McLaughlin inside the top 5. Another fantastic run.
Just for clarity, Will Davison, as a result of having to sit in the lane there and deal with all that, is 6th. Mark Winterbottom is 8th. So very frustrating for those fellas. And Alex Davison, Will's brother, is in 14th position in Charlie Schwerkolt's car in the Geraldine entry. So real frustration, and there's been a couple of little niggly problems. Brad Jones Racing were having some issues also with wheel nuts yesterday. They're having some cross-threaded problems, so there's something going on with the expansion rate of the wheel, or the way that they've machined the wheel nuts, or perhaps even the way they've machined and manufactured the hubs themselves. These are all the sorts of little glitches that you go through in the development of a race car.
Yeah, and I think, Neil, to add to that, you know, you saw some of those wheel nuts that got stuck on the cars earlier today, because the nature of the rear suspension of these cars and the way it all works, I just am guessing that they're hitting the walls at a slightly different angle, because we really haven't seen that done like that before. So you're dead right. I reckon they'll go where they'll have a bit of a think about all those fixtures, fittings, how to repair things quickly, all very much part of the process.
Yeah, we're looking at one at the moment, and they're certainly scuffing up when they hit the concrete there. 14 seconds was the actual delay time then for Winterbottom in that stop, and for Mark Winterbottom though it would feel like about an hour. So it's extraordinary when you've done all that work on the track and the seconds tick by, and it really explodes your brain, because all you want to do is get back out there and race.
Exactly, and he was effectively 3rd. That number would put him in 3rd position. So early in the race he was right up the pointy end. He would have been still within the top 5 at least, and to be down in 8th. Same thing for Will Davison, he was also affected too. So both FPR cars further down the field as a consequence.
You guys, good news, Michael Caruso is back standing and looking all right too. Michael, just give us an idea of how hot and how hard it is inside your office here in these conditions at Clipsal.
Oh, look, clearly the ambient temperature's well up over 30 at the moment, and that's going to mean anywhere between 55 and 60 inside the car. But obviously when the cool suit fails, the water gets hot, ends up being over body temperature, so it becomes extremely tough, and obviously then you have the whole inside of the car with the exhaust, and the footwell's getting extremely hot, so it made difficult conditions, but I'd rather bring it back nice and straight so the boys don't have to spend the whole week fixing it.
Very sensible move, and just checking in, you are okay now?
Yeah,
feeling pretty good?
Feeling good. Thanks for the message, everyone. I'm great.
All the best, mate. Take care.
Thanks a lot.
The situation with the current cars, to maximise performance, all the windows are up, so it's not like you just in the old days where you might have cracked a window or just made it all a little bit more relaxing. You can't do that with these cars, so when that system fails, that really gives them grief. They're not getting the cool air to the helmet, they're not getting the cool water circulating through the vests, and Scopey described before, it ends up being like an electric blanket. It's the most horrible feeling.
So back to the race lead with 7 seconds the gap now for Shane Van Gisbergen over Jamie Whincup. Giz hasn't won a race since Darwin in 2011. All he's really got to do here is bring it home straight and bring it home strong, and he'll get on the winners list in 2013. What about the effort from Russell Ingall inside the top 5? Well, these cars and these drivers and the teams have been pushed to their limits under extraordinary pressures and temperatures for more than 50 laps now on this race day Sunday, and it's heading towards crunch time. Fatigue will set in. Reliability will be a big question mark, and we touched on this on the way to the break. 49 years of age, Russell Ingall. His 507th race of the V8 Supercar Australian Touring Car Championship, 220th championship event. And here he is inside the top 4, ahead of, just coming into screen then, the youngest bloke in the field, 19-year-old Kiwi Scott McLaughlin. What a great mix.
49 and 19.
Matty, I had a good chance to have a chat with Russell Ingall just before the race, and he's actually loving these cars. He may have announced his retirement too soon. He says, particularly what he can do, he said, as he goes into these corners, these ones we're talking about right now, he said, where he'd usually have a bit of a stab at the brake, a decent stab at the brake, what he can do now is not go as hard on the brake, and the car rolls through the corner so much nicer, he said. Now, what that means, obviously, is the car's got really nice balance. And balance as you go into a corner, when you're on the limit of adhesion, means the level of grip at the front and the rear of the car is quite similar, quite equivalent. And that's obviously a consequence of the way the car is, with the transaxle now at the back, the aerodynamic work that's been done. And you're going to find this with several drivers. I think Fabian Coulthard's another one, that style of car will suit their driving style much better. And as a result, you can expect better racing during the course of the year.
Do you think Russell's enjoying it out there, Larko? I think Julia Ingall's enjoying it as well. Julia, this is fantastic. What have you said to Russell this morning?
I don't know if it's anything to do with me, and I'm not enjoying it here, so I'll be happy when it's over, to be honest. 23 laps still to go. I'm feeling a bit nervous.
Oh, we'll leave you to it. It's fantastic to see the great man out there doing so well.
He does all right for an old boy.
Don't worry, Julia, we'll lead the sledging. You have to go back to 2007 at this event to find a result that's been as good as this for Russell. He finished 4th on the Sunday in the Stone Brothers Racing Falcon, and you have to go back a couple of more years to find his name on the podium. So if he can push on and maybe round up Craig Lowndes, well, he's done better lap times, 2 laps out of the last 4, so it would be a fascinating finish, wouldn't it?
It would be. It's been a long road for Russell. It started at the Twilight meeting at Eastern Creek in 1996. And around and around and around he's gone. 18 years in V8 Supercar racing.
And he lost his birth certificate.
Yeah,
he's been 49 for 5 years.
That's right. It was only his birthday the other day. So he's done it all. He's won the championship and he's won at Bathurst. He's had 1 pole position. He's got a few more laps left in him at this stage, Russell Ingall.
At this stage of the race, you need to find as much as you can, as quick as you can, and Will Davison has been busted for curb hopping. He's been shown the bad sportsmanship flag, car number 6 in position 6. We're taking a look at Scott Pye, who's inside the top 15. He's 12th.
And Jason Bright, who we saw just before we went off to the break, is struggling with the cockpit temperatures of the car. I've just got a message out of the BJR bunker at Team BOC, and that's the issue in there. And here he is being dive bombed by Mark Winterbottom up the inside at turn 4. A lot of the cars are riding better today. It's really evident. You can see it clearly. They've definitely got a better handle on getting the cars matched to the road up there and getting them through these tight second gear corners, and that was a textbook manoeuvre by Winterbottom up the inside. Bright didn't really bother to even fight it, and as I say, he's just feeling a little worse for wear at the moment. So there may be an issue with the cool suit, or he's got another issue with just excessive cabin temp.
It's a good run here from Rick Kelly. We've said it a couple of times today. The car looks very, very good. Superb performance all weekend from him. 11th yesterday. And at the front of the field, Van Gisbergen has an all but 7-second lead over Whincup, so he's been able to maintain that gap.
Guys, one bloke who spent a lot of time in the garage here with the Red Bull guys, and Casey Stoner, you have spent the last 12 months when you can getting in and out of this garage. Now you are a fully fledged V8 Supercar driver. How'd you assess the weekend?
I wouldn't say I'm a V8 Supercar driver yet, but you know, I'm having a crack at it. No, it's been a good weekend, to be honest. You know, I had so many things to learn this weekend, and you know, curves was the first one. You know, coming out and learning how to hit them and drive off them nicely without upsetting the car too much. There was a lot going on. Being on track with that many other cars, you know, start procedures, all that sort of thing. There's a lot to sort of fill in, and you know, we learnt where the limit was when you flat spot tyres. You know, we just kept running it on it, kept making the flat spot bigger, and eventually we punched it. So we now know where that limit is to come in the garage. You know, lots of different things. And then on Saturday we had to start from the back of the grid and learn to race with a lot of guys. So to be honest, I had a ball. It was disappointing I didn't get to race properly on Friday, but in general it's just been fantastic driving the streets of Adelaide and really getting to enjoy it.
You'll be back soon?
Yeah, definitely, hopefully. But I need a little bit more time in the car and get a little bit more comfortable first.
Well, fantastic, mate. Well done on outstanding achievement this weekend. Good stuff.
No problem. Thank you.
He went into it with everything he had. Casey Stoner, he's been a great addition to this event, and it'll be good to see him throughout the course of the year in the Dunlop Series. You'll see every single race on 7 Sport this year.
You see the different display in the cars this year as part of the Motec system that's basically a control unit across all the teams now. Gear position, Mark Dutton in the background, 5th gear. There's the lap time, 23:02. And we're also noting there before the front and rear anti-roll bar positions on the very bottom of the display. And there's going to be an upgrade to this in the not-too-distant future, CFB and RB, so roll bar positions. And the other thing that's interesting is they're going to be able to customise this information to the drivers a bit later in the year. So we'll stay on board here.
So look for the lap. So in the centre is the lap counter for what your lap time is. So you can see that now 1.05. So it's 1.05 down on their datum lap. At the end of the lap, that will come up as your lap time. Just below that, 0.08 and minus 0.08 is the brake bias. So that will be slightly to the rear. And as Neil said, then there's the 2 sway bar settings at the bottom. And the driver will, relevant to each corner, look at that number in the middle of the screen for the lap time to see how your lap's progressing. So every time you come out of this left-hander, you have a look, and it'll be about 2 seconds. So he'll be using that as his own gauge for lap speed. Each and every lap, about 5 or 6 spots before the lap.
And the top of the wheels just masking the shift lights for us at the moment. They illuminate through different stages, and they're completely programmable so that the drivers can determine where they want to do their shifting and the efficient way to do it.
And there's the lap time, 22:87.
So you were riding with a lap then, it was 1.5 tenths quicker than the previous lap. In the shorter, lower gears, you change the way those lights stage on the shift pattern across the top. It's very easy in the lower gears with that amount of torque and horsepower to bump straight into the rev limiter, and you've got to keep up with the pace of the engine.
We've spoken all weekend about this young man. He's driving the car really well. McLaughlin in 5th position, fending off Will Davison. It's been a very mature drive, very good performance yesterday to be 6th, and again today now to be in the top 5.
And another bloke driving really well, Scaife, is Fabian Coulthard. Let's just put the DNF aside for a minute, mate. From the moment you put this car on the track at the test day at Sydney, all weekend, it is fast. We talked a little about how the different dynamics of this car of the future are affecting different drivers. Are you one of them?
No, look, I don't mind it. You know, obviously we've had pretty good success with it so far. You know, just I guess it takes a little bit of a while to get your head around, you know, how to drive it and the different things about it. But you know, it kind of brings me back to my roots. You know, more like the other categories I've driven in the past.
Yeah, talking to Russell Ingall, he said he loved the balance of it. He said he felt the car could roll into a corner a lot faster without worrying about losing the rear end. I mean, Russell's been around. I mean, they're talking about him losing his passport. They didn't have a passport when he got around, mate. They used to inscribe it on a tablet. Do you think that's part of the issue, though?
Yeah, I just think, you know, the biggest thing what we found with this car, it's very tunable. You know, we can make a change and feel the change, whereas last year, my biggest problem is I couldn't feel, you know, the odd change here and there, and, you know, you find yourself wasting time. But, you know, every time we hop in this thing, we make a change, I feel it. It's a positive direction or a negative one way or the other, and, you know, we come away with a good, fast car.
Well, that's pretty encouraging to hear, mate. We look forward to you having a great year.
All right, thank you.
And for Ford fans out there, Matt made reference a little while ago to the fact that Will Davison had been shown the bad sportsmanship flag because he was on 3 hops down at turn 2 and the electronic trigger had gone off down there. They've rolled that back one, so he's back on 2. So there's clearly been a communication between the team and race control.
Oh, that's bad.
Gearbox drummer, huge rev. You wouldn't want to be a valve spring. This could be a recurrence of the problem we saw yesterday.
He seems to have got it sorted. That was the reason why he dropped off Scott McLaughlin. When we were following him initially, he was right up on the rear of car 33 and then was dropped away. Hopefully it was just a temporary miss for Will Davison as they head towards the finish line at the Clipsal 500. Welcome back, just to prove that you can just never count on anything running smoothly at the Clipsal 500. This is what's happened. We now have a safety car heading out onto the circuit because Alex Davison in the Gerald Wen Falcon has fallen foul down at turn 8. Team boss Charlie Schwerkolt just, well, he's biting his tongue there a bit. This is what happened now. Rick Kelly got the jump on Scott Pye on approach to turn 8. Alex went with him, but went way too shallow and then way too deep into the left-hand wall and then slam into the right-hand side.
As soon as I saw him on the grey on the approach, I knew he was in trouble because he can't turn into turn 8 that shallow. So he tried to do what Rick had done. Rick got it done at the previous corner effectively when he got past Scott Pye. Alex went with him. He made the radius of the corner tighter, car understeered and whacked the outside of the wall, broke the steering, which then fired it to the concrete wall on the inside. And there's our first Petters STP safety car.
That's a really big impact. And as you've seen over the years, often the result is exactly that. You either hug the left-hand concrete barriers and continue in a straight line down that way, or you get speared over to the right-hand side.
So Scotty Pye ran a bit wide back here at turn 7. That was the incentive for Rick to get down. But watch this, on the grey, look how shallow he is, look how tight he's made the corner, oversteers in the middle, bam, that's the left wall, breaks the steering, bam, to the inside.
And good presence of mind from Scott Pye, because the rule is that you've got to have single file before you get to the corner. It's a driver's briefing, sort of gentleman's agreement of how you approach that corner. So Alex was out of order to dive down the inside at that stage, caused the accident, but Scott Pye got away with it. He got away from that car.
So that means the field is compressed. At that stage, Shane van Gisbergen had about a 10-second lead. Quick break, back with more. So, this is the scenario. We're on lap 67 out of 78. We're behind the Chrysler safety car. Shane van Gisbergen is the leader of the race. Jamie Whincup is second. His Red Bull teammate Craig Lowndes is third. There's no gap now, no advantage, and the safety car will peel off, and then it's a 10-11 lap sprint to the finish.
And it changes a lot of things here. Look at the gap here.
Safety car in pit lane, buddy. Safety car in pit lane.
It gives rise to the possibility of others getting a reprieve here. It depends on who had the best car in the last couple of laps. Russell Ingall, interestingly, had a very fast car in the last 4 or 5 laps. He might be able to grab something here. Now, David Wall's between Van Gisbergen and Whincup. That'll give Shane some relief in the process.
And Van Gisbergen played that perfectly too. David Wall is out of sequence, but of course he's in the line. Now here goes Whincup on the inside. Lowndes will go with him. Wall steps aside and lets them through. Russell Ingall goes through as well. So we've got Van Gisbergen going for his first ever win here. Jamie Whincup trying to get on the winners list early in the season. Craig Lowndes, the winner yesterday. Oh, Whincup has a big mistake on the exit into turn 7. The teammates actually bump. And Lowndes gets ahead, and now Russell Ingall is going to drag him down Peterbrook Straight. This is the one that caught out Alex Davison. So Russell Ingall goes up to second.
How's that? He took advantage of the teammates headbutting each other, and now Lowndes wants to argue the case at 9. He's got the rear brakes locked. He runs wide. Whincup up the inside. Lowndes is off the road.
We've got to get the point, dude.
They've got to settle down.
Blood boiling on the restart, as you'd expect. Van Gisbergen has about a 3-second lead. Now over Whincup, who's second. Ingall is third. Lowndes is fourth. Then Will Davison, Mark Winterbottom. They've been very aggressive on the restart. Down here at turn 14, Rick Kelly gets spun around by Jason Bright. Severe damage to the other Jack Daniels Nissan as well.
That's crazy.
Debris on the front straight. Wouldn't be surprised if we have another safety car.
Head down, 10 to go. 10 to go. Is the car okay?
That is ridiculous. Look at the damage on the front. Tander. Damage on the front. Look at the front of Todd Kelly's car. You won't even be able to see out of that at the moment.
Looks like a spaceship.
That's
mangled.
a huge amount of damage. What a wild restart with the two teammates.
Well, it's been brewing for 68 laps, and the 78 yesterday as well. And it exploded in one lap after the restart. So let's see if they can settle down. All through cleanly. Now they all look on the inside down there at turn 9. Scott McLaughlin being very aggressive still. Oh, Jonathan Webb skates on through, somehow misses Tony D'Alberto.
There was a bit of impatience of everyone trying to round up David Wall. That's what actually triggered all that up at the top end of the circuit. It's still going on now. Here it is again in replay. Watch this on the run to turn 7. So Whincup the mistake. Lowndes carts him out wide off the curb. Ingle takes the advantage down the inside. They all wobble their way through turn 8 with their brains scrambled, and then by the time they got down to turn 9, it was on again. Remember, watch for Lowndes down the inside here. Here he is, big plunge. Gets crossed up, Jamie up the inside, Russell getting his ears boxed every which way. They're all trying to shove David Wall out of the way. And up the back, it's just one of those nose-to-tail silly traffic incidents. Whole heap of people with nowhere to go.
And meanwhile, Craig Lowndes has got back around Russell Ingle on the last flying lap. What a mess.
Sad to see that amount of damage. And now Courtney's got a big rush on here at the moment, trying to get past Scotty McLaughlin. These guys are arguing for 7th and 8th at the moment. So Van Gisbergen, meantime, he is going to be grinning in that helmet. He's got 2.2 seconds over Whincup.
Then Lowndes, then Ingle. Then the two FPR cars, then we find McLaughlin and Courtney. Tander, his day is gone.
And then all that drama at the hairpin, both the FPR cars got by Scott McLaughlin. So there was a lot of rearranging of this front part of the field. And then Ingle must have made another mistake because he was in front of Lowndes. So now Lowndes in front of Ingle. So, wow, what a restart. Look at the damage to the front of Todd Kelly's car. He had nowhere to go.
Will Davison just went out wide there on the approach to the front straight, and that's why his teammate Winterbottom is now tucked up right behind him. They both skip over the curbs, and Winterbottom got a strike next to his name, so he's going to have to be careful. He'll get the spot here if he can hold on up at turn 4. McLaughlin turns in on Courtney. They have contact as well.
Two FPR teammates were doing their best to run into each other then as well at turn 4. So we've seen both from Red Bull and both from FPR willing to have pretty vigorous fights out there at the moment. This is the battle again between McLaughlin and Courtney.
And the reason we see this is the first event of the year. There are no team orders. There are no championship points dramas. You can basically press on as hard as you possibly can. Still in those bunkers, there'd be plenty of action in the Red Bull area and also in the FPR area.
Courtney with a fair bit of oversteer as he turned that car in then to turn 8, looking for a way around the outside of McLaughlin at 9. D'Alberto's not far afield here as well. He's in 9th position. Oh, here we are. He's got him. He's got him. Him off. That'll be a penalty. Almost certainly be a penalty for Courtney when he shoved him.
He better redress, Neil, because that, well, he can't redress now. He's 2 spots in front, but he just served him up.
Webb up the inside. There's not much room in there. We saw what happened a couple of laps ago.
Buddy, back in your rhythm, mate. Have a drink. Have a drink. Doing a great job.
Well, they're just trying to counsel Scotty McLaughlin here. He has done a great job. And he'll be all fired up too, but he is still inside the top 10. They're not expecting miracles from him. He's a hard racer. He's showing a lot of savvy around this circuit for a youngster, and he's not afraid to give back what he's getting. He got a serve from Courtney. He's held off Jonathan Webb under incredible pressure. Now Webb has another look on the inside on the run up to turn 7. There's a little poke on the inside again. There's Van Gisbergen. That's the lead from 1 to 2.
So Winterbottom will get the bad sportsmanship flag for overuse of the turn 2 curbing this time through. So how's the tempo change of the race since the safety car? Here we are again. McLaughlin, Webb, Pye, Fiore. David Wall next in that queue.
That's where McLaughlin went off on the right-hand side, just here. Lucky not to crunch into the Nissan tyre bundle. So he's held his own under maximum attack. He's lost some spots, but he's still out there. So it's Van Gisbergen 2.3 seconds. Then Whincup and Lowndes. Russell Ingall is tucked up behind car 888. Ready to give it a rattle, you'd think. The last 5 or 6 laps.
Lucky for Courtney. I'm surprised that he hasn't got a pit lane penalty for that at this point. That was a nose to tail, push wide at turn 11. And it might be points post-race, as we saw throughout many of the events last year.
Probably at this late stage of the race, that'll be something that they'll want to investigate. But yeah, it was an awkward moment and looked pretty clear cut. It went straight into the back of him, and McLaughlin ended up being pushed wide down there at turn 11.
So Van Gisbergen's driven very well, guys. This is a very good performance. The safety car comes out. Still able to fend off Whincup with a 2.2 second lead. It probably helped Van Gisbergen a little bit because Lowndes and Whincup were doing all that lunacy at the restart.
Well, plus
that's the gap.
And the buffer of David Wall in between really let Van Gisbergen off the hook in that restart.
The other thing too, guys.
5 laps to run, eyes forward, nice and clean. You've got a nice buffer.
With that buffer, he used it well. When you watch the replay of the restart, Van Gisbergen was in total control. He knew exactly what he was doing. He got the jump perfectly. He set himself up right here at the exit of turn 14. He was leading the field, so he had control and he used it well. Lights are on for Russell Ingall. He's not giving up a chance at this podium.
Yeah, it's a good point, Matty. I was standing next to the Red Bull guys whilst that restart happened, and that was their big frustration, was getting by that lap car and the gap. But Roland Dane, I don't even have to go and ask him the question. You know, you sell a customer a car, then he brings it to the track and he wallops you with it. No, but they will use that as a great motivator to lift their own game. That's just the way they are.
So this is the replay from James Courtney's car on the back of Scotty McLaughlin at turn 11. We've got another angle from above, so check it out. Pretty straightforward.
And McLaughlin didn't just lose one spot. He did a great job not to hit those tyres that Matt made reference to.
So Courtney at the moment is 7th, and McLaughlin is 9th as a result of all that. And now Jonathan Webb continues to chew away on the back of McLaughlin here. These the guys battling for 9th and 10th.
Scott McLaughlin is so confident down at turn 9. Since the restart here, he's been aggressive when he has to be, and he's blocked beautifully when he needed to. And he held his head really calmly when he had Jonathan Webb set to go past him right down here.
So lap speed comparison, Van Gisbergen a 1:22.9. Bruce Jenkins at Techno Autosport, the right side of frame there. A 22.9 for Whincup, a 22.9 for Lowndes. Ingall lost some pace that lap, a 24.3. He's way out of step. Winterbottom a 22.7, Davison a 22.8, Courtney a 22.8. So the leading bulk of cars are all pretty much locked on the same time, but the message here after that bad lap for Ingall is that he's vulnerable to Winterbottom. This is the battle for 4th and 5th. We're watching from the chopper.
I said earlier, I haven't seen Winterbottom as aggressive as this. He's got a new engineer, young James Small, on the radio to him, and he will put plenty of pressure on Ingall in the closing laps.
Yeah, we just want to try and grab a quick word with Roland, mate. Sorry to interrupt at this busy time of the race. A couple of quick things. I know you will use one of your own cars beating you as a great motivator, so I don't have to ask you that. But the driver contact between you two guys early in the season, championship points, not an issue yet. They're free to do what they want, because I didn't see any reaction in the room here.
Oh, look, yeah, I mean, they've got to race each other, and it looked as though Jamie might have made a small mistake. Craig took advantage of it, but it's game on. I mean, we like to allow them to race each other. They just, if they put them in the wall, they'll have to get the bus home.
All right, mate. Well, it's a good start to the season for you anyway, and look forward to seeing a bit more of you this year.
Thank you. Thank you.
And all that was triggered by the fact that Jamie Whincup got loose on approach into turn 7.
So looking back from Ingall, and as you can see there, a lot of curb use at turn 4 across the apex curb. A couple of different techniques through this right and left. Ingall's got some damage on the left-hand front of his car from hitting the tyres at turn 1. And Winterbottom much stronger in that 90-degree section of track leading into the final 90 at turn 7 up to turn 8. This amazingly fast, one of the best corners in Australian motor racing. Ingle, big wide approach. That will definitely hurt the front aerodynamic efficiency of the Super Cheap Auto Commodore. And you can see there on the brakes that Winterbottom, very aggressive, just gets it stopped right up behind him now.
There's not only a chunk out of the left side, but there's a chunk out of the right side of some dislodgement there as well. So basically the whole front end of the car has had a big tweak.
Look for this. If he gets up over this inside curb, pulls the wheel in and dive down the inside. I thought he was going to have a run. He locked the wheel. He made a little mistake. That is a definite passing spot there.
And that's
2 laps to go, Russell. 2 laps to go. Eyes forward, mate. Eyes forward.
That's Matt Crawford on the radio. That mistake cost Winterbottom the opportunity, which could have arisen at turn 4 up here at the end of this next straight, because he's so far back now he can't grab him. So he's got to try and wind himself back into a position again where he can have another go. The lock-up was very, very costly.
Well, a mistake would be super costly here. Just the smallest of mistakes for Shane Van Gisbergen, because Jamie Whincup, look, he's in the mirror now. It's only 1.7 seconds left. The difference with 1.5 laps to go. So Van Gisbergen will be feeling the pressure. Techno Autosports have never won a race, that team. Jonathan Webb did. It wasn't part of Techno back at the Sydney Telstra 500 in 2010. It's been a long road back for Shane Van Gisbergen into this sport. Here's this angry pack still. The FPR cars chasing down Russell Ingall. So it's 1.5 seconds the gap between first and second. One flying lap to go. 3.22 kilometres at the end of 2 unbelievably long and hot days. And a streak could be coming to an end here, because
lap speed 22.6 for Van Gisbergen, 22.6 for Whincup, and then we'll see a little gap, 22.9 for Lowndes. So really there's no difference in speed between the two leaders, so that will theoretically mean the margin holds.
888 Racing and Ford Performance Racing have won the last 34 races straight in the championship. Can Shane Van Gisbergen deliver Techno Autosports their first win? His first in a Commodore, his first at this circuit, and not only that, he'll become the first Kiwi to win as well.
With a 1.6 second lead, just limit the risk, Matt. Do not go through here as hard as you need to on a normal lap. Just leave some room. Leave some room for yourself. You didn't do that. Break it early for this. You've got plenty of time. Just don't make a mistake.
Yet again, Whincup will be on the podium. He was third yesterday.
Bruce Jenkins looked like a stress ball, didn't he?
Yeah. A big bag of points for Red Bull Racing Australia. But at the end of season 2012, there was a massive question mark over the future of this young Kiwi superstar. Well, now there are no questions. The Holden VF Commodore and Techno Autosports get their first win. The Gears is the Clipsal champion of 2013. The race that came alive 10 laps out. Whincup and Lowndes round out the podium. What about the Enforcer? 49 years of age, fourth. One of the toughest races that we've got. That's why Walkinshaw Performance and Super Cheap Auto are celebrating. Mark Winterbottom and Will Davison make it 5th and 6th. And one thing we know about Shane Van Gisbergen is he will not hold back on the celebrations. He's going to drift this thing the whole way home. That's if he gets it home. 23 years of age now. He signalled his intention to walk away from the sport for at least a year at the end of last year. He left Stone Brothers Racing. He found a new home, controversially, under a big legal question mark too, at Techno early last month. He returns to V8 Supercars. He was no doubt in the running yesterday. So 2 pole positions and a race victory out of a Clipsal 500 weekend. Well, nobody's done that before.
Very fast. And very impressive. And a very good drive, Matt, from Russell Ingall to finish in front of the two Falcons of FPR. We saw their pit stop problems, and we saw the 14 seconds that Mark Winterbottom lost as we see Van Gisbergen.
He did it the tough way too. He led 51 out of the 78 laps. He had them all trying to round him up for more than 3/4 of this race. And they couldn't catch him. And of course, the format here at the Clipsal 500, whoever wins race 2 on the Sunday is also crowned the Clipsal 500 event winner. And Shane Van Gisbergen not only becomes the first Kiwi winner on these streets, but also the 9th different Clipsal 500 overall champion. So Whincup and Lowndes there, 2 Fords inside the top 10. Great effort from Tony D'Alberto to finish 8th. And we followed the fortunes of Scotty McLaughlin. A great weekend for the teenager, 2 top 10 finishes. So we got down to 17th. The leading Nissan was James Moffat.
Which is a good performance there for James, 13th place, just outside that 10. But I can't help but feel for his teammates, Todd and Rick Kelly. They'll be standing up there in that garage at the moment looking at massive damage and a lot of work there. That's what they don't need in the early development phase of this car.
So yesterday there were 4 DNFs, and we were saying the average here is about 7 per race. Today there was 11. So they've got the average back on track anyway.
The stewards will be looking into, we just saw that come across our wire, that the stewards will be looking into the incident with Courtney and Scott McLaughlin.
He's asking for help just to get out of the car. And it wouldn't surprise me if he needs assistance. All of these guys will be exhausted. You just can't believe how hard this race is to start the season in these conditions at this circuit. He's a pretty carefree, happy-go-lucky kind of guy, Shane Van Gisbergen. But I wouldn't mind betting that there's a little bit of emotion running through that body at the moment when he takes his helmet off. You look up to this enormous crowd and realise that he's turned things around massively after what should have been a year off for him. There's Steve Webb, Jono's dad, and a very proud Techno Autosports crew. And Jonathan Webb finishing 10th, so the bookended the top 10. But what about Red Bull Racing Australia too on the podium? He reaches for the sky, Shane Van Gisbergen.
Well, Shane Van Gisbergen, congratulations, an outstanding result. Your first win for Techno Autosports, and to do it here at Clipsal on race 2 of the season. Outstanding, mate. Congratulations.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Best race, the car was awesome, another pole, but I can't thank the Webb family for taking me on, the whole of the Techno Autosports team, family back at home. It's amazing, and the Quins from VIP, it's awesome. So, and thanks for everyone who stuck behind me. It was really good. Thank you.
You've had your share of distractions, but today it was just eyes forward and get the job done.
Yeah, do it in the car just the way we like it.
Well done, congratulations. Enjoy that podium.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done, Shane Van Gisbergen. Over here to the Team Red Bull drivers, and Jamie Whincup, to you first. Fantastic effort once again. This championship year, we're 2 races in, it's starting to build some momentum.
Thanks, Brett. As I said yesterday, I'm absolutely wrapped with the podium. Full credit to Shane. That was impressive. He was absolutely on fire. Didn't make a mistake. So he really deserved this one. So to all the 888 boys and girls, yeah, these 3 cars were lined up in the workshop, for the last 3 months. So they've done an unbelievably good job.
There's no effort about no doubt about the amount of effort from both you and Craig in those last few laps. You really got stuck into each other.
Yeah, hey, it was on. We were out there to race, There's plenty of dribble going on behind the scenes, but yeah, we go out there and race, and he's a good mate. It was I enjoyed that.
Well done, Jamie.
We stayed out of the wall, which is nice as well, yeah.
Congratulations on the podium finish. Well done. Lownsy, well, a win yesterday, a third today. Good start to the year. Tick the box.
Well, it is, Brett. I think that whenever you come away from this particular race with two clean cars and two strong results is always a good thing. So, look, yeah, it was pretty exciting towards the end there. Jamie went a little bit sideways off 6. I was humming and hawing, and then, of course, I got onto the dirty line. I ran wide, then Russell got back, and I attacked him. It was all happening. But, look, that's motor racing.
Clipsal, just the way we love it. Always fantastic to come here to this incredible arena, Lownsy, and get a result like that. I mean, this is something special.
Oh, look, it is, Brett, and I think it's a testament to the crowd. I think it's, look, fantastic weekend. Obviously, new manufacturers involved. I'm not sure what Jamie said, but congratulations to Gizzy, because, he had a fast car yesterday. He didn't prove it, but he proved it today. So, look, it's they said yesterday, would it shake up the results? I think it's a good proven that it is. So, look, big hello to Levi and Chile back home. But, look, as I said, the fans hopefully got a great spectacle today.
They sure did, Lownsy. Enjoy that second podium for the year. Well done.
Cheers. Thanks, Brett.
Hey, Russell Lingle, fantastic, mate. Now, listen, we're winding you up in the telecast. I said your passport, they'll never see it because it's inscribed in a tablet somewhere. Age is no barrier, mate. You said to me you're really enthusiastic about this car and you're driving it that way, mate.
Yeah, I sort of figured that's what I was really keen to do this year, because the car's more like an open wheeler to drive. You can really flow it, use a lot of corner speed, and now I've got my head around it a bit. I'm just getting better and better with it, and look, that was a great race. It was that end part, mate. I like racing. I like racing. That's bloody good.
Yeah, oh, it's funny. We're watching Winterbottom, I think it was, behind you in the last closing laps. I mean, you tell me the Russell version. What were his chances of getting by you?
Mate, about as much as winning the lottery, I can tell you. So he might as well go out and buy a lottery ticket because he's got a better chance of winning it.
And where to from here, mate? I mean, you're obviously very happy with the car here. We go to a very different circuit next time round. Do you get a sense that the car's going to be good everywhere you go?
I think so. Like I said, I only did half a day at Eastern Creek testing, and then we come straight here. So I'm still getting my head around it, but we're starting to figure out what it needs, and there's still a lot of time left in this car, make no mistake, and I think that's the case for everyone. So we got to unlock it and try and unlock it faster than everyone else. But old head, young body, mate, we're looking all right.
Yeah, I'll just pull the retirement for a minute. I'll be hanging around a bit longer. Well done, mate.
Thanks, guys.
Well, Russell Lingle is 4th in the championship after the first event of 2013, the first 2 races. Of course, our championship leader is Craig Lowndes. Victory yesterday, 3rd today, 279 points. Shane van Gisbergen should have been much higher. He got 154 points today, but didn't score any yesterday. So that's how the championship looks after our first 2 races of the season. Let's head to the podium where Barrett's is standing by.
Time to present our winners for race 2 of the season here at the Clipsal 500 Adelaide. And would you please congratulate in first place for Techno Team VIP, Shane van Gisbergen. In second place, Jamie Whincup, Red Bull Racing Australia. And in third place for Red Bull Racing Australia, Craig Lowndes. Representing the winning team, Techno Team VIP, is Bruce Jenkins. Making the presentation of the third place trophy is Mr. Andrew Ford, the chairman, South Australian Motorsport Board. Presenting to second place, Mr. Grantley White, sales director of our major sponsor Clipsal by Schneider Electric. Making the presentation to the winning team, the Honourable Leon Bignell MP, Minister for Motorsport. And presenting to our winner, Shane van Gisbergen, the first place trophy, the Honourable Jay Weatherall MP, Premier of South Australia, who has secured the event up until 2021. And presenting the winner's laurel as well, the Honourable Jay Weatherall MP, Premier of South Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2013 Clipsal 500 Adelaide Race 2 winners.
It's the 3rd career victory for Shane van Gisbergen. He won 2 races during the course of the 2011 season. One in his home country on the streets of Hamilton and one at Hidden Valley in Darwin, but this is by far the biggest of his V8 Supercar career. In front of this enormous crowd at the Clipsal 500. He's the champion on a big day, and the Giz will join us on the desk right after this break. Stay with us. It was a pole to checkered flag day for Shane van Gisbergen. He tried to do that yesterday. It came unstuck at the very start, but no glitches today. And at the end of this race, that just exploded into action. He really had to fight off some pretty angry chasers as well. Holden VF Commodore now 2 out of 2 for season 2013. They've had the wood on their competitors here at the Clipsal 500. We've had 29 races since 1999, and the Holdens have won 16 of them. And Shane van Gisbergen joins us at the desk with the world's biggest trophy, by the way. Congratulations, you're the first Kiwi to win the Clipsal 500. Awesome. Emotion. I want to know what the emotion is right now. You've been up on the podium, you've done all that, you've had 10 or 15 seconds at least to settle in. What are you thinking?
It hasn't really settled in at the moment, but just an awesome race. I made a mistake yesterday starting in neutral, and then today got to redeem myself another pole position, which was awesome, and then just passed Mark early on in the race, and then away we went. But car was faultless, just a couple of clicks of bar, and here we are.
And the restart just at the late end of the race there was very, very good for you. David Wall was the next car in the queue, but your pace looked good when the tyres had cooled out, when the fuel load was high, when it was low throughout all phases of the race. The thing looked really strong. Yeah, and in that last stint, it was our longest one, and Jamie had 6 seconds to me, and then he was really slow trying to save the tyres. So I knew he would be strong if he had, oh, there's the pass. If he had a safety car, and he was at the end, but we were pretty even. He was probably a 10th better, but yeah, we had a lucky break at the restart.
Giz, one of the things that we saw unfold for Craig Lowndes yesterday, we didn't get to see it with you until today, was that this new VF Commodore and the changes that have been made to these V8s can suit certain driving styles. Is that what you felt in the car?
Yes, it's very different, partly because it's a 888 chassis, but the new rear end is quite different. And you saw yesterday Jamie was not able to compete with Craig, and he said today that his car was a lot better. But I found in clear air I was really fast, and I got to Jamie quite quickly. But then when I got there, it seemed to heat up a lot, so it's hard to follow closely.
You set the fastest lap of the race early in the piece as well, apart from all the other things you achieved this weekend. Did that on lap 24. But special moment there for you. You're really going to savour this one.
Oh, all the stuff that's going on, it's great to just get out on track, get out there, get the results. And it's ironic which garage we're in now. But, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and Shane, that is the point too. This is no ordinary win. This is the 3rd win of your career. It is easily the biggest win of your career. But with everything that has been going on, you were going to leave the sport at the end of last year. You find yourself a new team. You come back in. There are legal things hanging around at the moment. How have you coped with all that and put that into perspective for us?
It hasn't been easy, I'm not going to lie. But I feel my best when I'm in the car, driving my best. And I just get on with it. But outside the car, there's all those things hanging around. But it's best for me. I'm in a happy environment. I'm really loving life at the moment. Loving going racing, drifting, super tours, anything. So it's really cool to be in a car.
Any scares along the way and the thing basically faultless today?
Well, I had one moment through turn 8, a big understeer, and it just kept understeering and understeering. But we saved it and kept on going.
Good job.
Well, congratulations to you. You're on the honours list at one of the toughest and biggest events that we've got. Shane van Gisbergen, our winner of the Clipsal 500. You go and celebrate because you've done the hard work. And we can check in down at FPR with Larko.
Yeah, well, down here with Will Davison. He's my man flying the forward flag at the moment. 6th today, 3rd in the championship overall. Still a tough day, and I know you're disappointed about the wheel nut dramas.
Yeah, one of those races where disappointed, but nearly just relieved to get to the finish. From the first corner, it was one drama after the other. Jamie gave me a bit of a whack into the first corner, right on the wheel. From then on, the steering was like quite bent. So I was really nervous every lap that it was going to break and send me into the wall. And anyway, persevered on, and obviously, yeah, we had the drama in the pits with 3 of the cars. And then a gearbox problem where it kept jumping out of 2nd gear. So I was worried about that's what put Frosty out of the race yesterday. On top of that, gave the engine a couple of massive over revs. So I'm just driving around going, oh, I just want to get to the finish. Wow.
Okay, well, listen, I think good, and you're flying the flag. I did want to grab Alex, your brother. Alex, that was a reasonably brave move to take up the inside at 8. Didn't quite pull it off. You okay, firstly?
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, I didn't see it as I wasn't trying to be a hero or anything, but obviously Scott lifted right out of it when Rick went past him, and I was well past him early enough, you know. I just didn't expect it to be so slippery offline. So yeah, it was nothing too crazy, lunging up the inside or anything. It was all done down the straight, but very slippery offline there, so it didn't work out.
I'll ask you first, Alex, having a year out and coming back into the... You're just looking yourself in the wall, exactly. Yeah, it was pretty dramatic. It was pretty dramatic. Having a year out and coming back now, mate, and driving this new generation of car, do you think it's better and easier to adapt to? Is it more like a race car than what we've been used to?
It's probably not as different as I thought it would be. You hop in and it still feels like a V8 supercar. It does do a few things differently. They rotate a little bit more aggressively with the weight distribution being better. They seem to have pretty good traction out of the corners, but it still feels like a V8 supercar. So it's still quite a difficult car to drive for, I think, for people coming in from overseas or for wherever they're coming from. But, you know, overall, I think it's worked really well this weekend. There's been a few little niggles with gearboxes and the like, but considering brand new racing cars for the whole field, we've got 28 cars out there with minimal drama. So, you know.
All right, well, thanks, boys. Once I say to both of you, both look like you've been working on the fitness, because after that gig, you both look pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pretty huge, like.
No, I didn't mean huge.
Yeah, I know. It's all good. Cheers.
Poor bloke. He's so exhausted he can hardly speak, and Larko's trying to crack gags. Mark Scaife won 4 races at this circuit. You know how tough it is. You know how to get to the finish line, obviously. Let's talk you through these highlights from the race start, of course, and you can see how this one unfolded. And what I'm really interested to know, Scaife, is how on earth did they manage to keep their focus for such a long time, such a long period without safety cars, and it was on from the word go. Van Gisbergen didn't get another great start. It was really even. Winterbottom had the advantage. Alex Premer was the first of the casualties.
Yeah, and there was so much going on. The liveliness at the start of this race was way wilder than yesterday, Matt. And then there's a bit of oil there at turn 8. You see this contact, bang! And that was Coulthard. 3 or 4 guys gave the fence a bump there, and obviously Alex Premer out from that stage on. This young guy did a great job through the whole day and ended up, well, he had a horror run with HRT, Tander contact, and then later James Courtney contact. This was a bit of a controversial pit entry in this dive there from Courtney late in the race on a really good run from Rick Kelly all weekend. I've been very impressed with his drive, Crompo.
Yeah, I think he's done a great job this weekend against the odds. It's been a tough one for them just to be here. We saw some great passing manoeuvres, and clearly for me today, the cars were much better adapted and matched to the road than yesterday, which gives us an idea of the sort of learnings that we're going to see along the way. They'll catch on very, very quickly. Difficult here also for Michael Caruso when the cool suit failed. They tried to do their best to yank the passenger's window out of it and stick some ice in his suit, but in the end, you're fighting a losing battle when you do stuff like that. Fortunately, he was attended to by the medical crew, and he came back out later and said hi to us. Little drama here with Johnny Reid and James Moffat. That broke the right rear suspension of the Dick Johnson Racing Wilson Security Falcon. They limped back in and that car was done for the day. This was concerning because these guys got their car out at Ford Performance Racing earlier than anybody last year, and all of a sudden they've had something weird happen with either the hub, the wheel or the wheel nut. Now, obviously, racing conditions are very different to practice and testing conditions. Here's that incident for Alex Davison. But that's something that FPR are going to have to look at before we get to our next event.
So we waited all this time to see a safety car. Thankfully, Alex is okay. It was a really big hit. And then the world changed. I mean, all of a sudden, Whincup gets a little bit loose on approach to 7. He gets whacked and taken out wide by his teammate. Russell Ingall buys into this picture. At one stage, at this stage, Russell Ingall, the enforcer, is second in this race. Then Lowndes takes a big dive down at turn 9. It costs Lowndes 2 spots. Russell goes from second to third. Jamie goes up to second. And look at all this rubbing and all this action mid-pack. As Shane Van Gisbergen's going, all I've got to do is stay out of that and I'll get to the finish line. He does. He gets his 3rd career victory.
For a minute there, I thought that turns 7, 8 and 9, we were going to see a couple of Red Bull cars and maybe 1 or 2 others get together. I really held my breath when that was happening.
So it was Van Gisbergen first, Whincup second, and Craig Lowndes in 3rd spot. And one of the guys that we've been talking about all throughout the course of the weekend was young Scott McLaughlin, 19 years of age, Fujitsu GRM, a 6th yesterday and a 9th today. Larko's pretty happy.
Mate, he is, and it's funny just sitting with the boys here watching the highlights that you guys are putting up there. They're going, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. It's quite funny, but bad luck, Alex, today, bombing out, but a great weekend. Scotty, I would suggest beyond your expectations, the way it's rolled out for you this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. You know, top 15 was our aim, Larko, and or my aim, and to come with that, come away with us. I think we're 6th in the championship now is unbelievable for my confidence in the team. It's a credit to these boys for giving me the car, and Alex has helped me a lot too. So yeah, he is for a French guy.
Can I say to you, mate, the thing that impressed me most today after the restart, the safety car restart, you got ruffled up. But you kept a cool head, and to me, great signs of maturity, mate. And that's what's going to get you to the top.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was pretty full on there. You know, I got ruffled and bustled a little bit, but you know, there's a few lap cars there that shouldn't have been there at the time. But I had a lot of fun out there, and you know, again, I was still top 15. I'm 9th. Who cares? I'm stoked.
Yeah, I reckon we're going to see a lot of both of you blokes today and this year, and look forward to it. Eh?
Thank you. Cheers.
Absolutely. We will be tracking GRM's progress throughout the year. You can catch it, a review of the Clipsal 500 next Saturday, V8 Extra. Go to 7 Mate at 12:30. You'll see it all and hear it all from here in Pit Lane. Our next event, we return to Symmons Plains in Tasmania, the Tassie 360. That is the first of the new 60-60 Super Sprint format. Makes up races 3, 4 and 5. Just check your local guides, but basically 7 Sport has it covered across channel 7, 7-2 or 7 Mate. We don't want you to miss a beat of the V8 Supercars, and why not after the season opener this weekend? The future is here. On behalf of all the guys, all of the crew, we hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time at the V8 Supercars. Bye for now.